Right. All right. Hopefully we get some people on. So yeah, apologies for being absent for most of last week. I managed to catch like something like the flu. I did COVID tests and it wasn't COVID. So I think it was flu, but I managed to catch that literally right after New Year's sort of day sort of time. And then like felt absolutely awful from Wednesday to Friday last week. I'm still a bit achy now, but I feel a lot better. So yeah, thought I'd do a webcam stream today. Then if I get time tomorrow or Wednesday, I definitely want to get a video filmed the next 2 days. I'm doing one on that Italian gas mask I've not done a video on yet. But yeah, wait for some people to come on. All right, Alexei. See, I was just saying, I don't know if you heard any of it, that yeah, I managed to get flu or something similar. COVID test came up negative sort of a couple of days into the new year. And then, felt absolutely shit for days. And quite a lot of people I know sort of got ill as well, so must have been something like that, right, Big Mac? But like the worst of it's over now. I'm still a bit achy, but my throat isn't so sore now. My cough isn't as bad. I took some cough medicine just before this stream because I knew if I was talking for a while, I'd probably start coughing again. But yeah, that's exactly what it was like, Alex saying. It was just like a cough. When I was trying to sleep, it made sleeping really difficult because I keep coughing. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Allegaming. But yeah, it's like I said, I had like saying I had basically a cough that was really bad when I was trying to lay down and sleep, where I'd feel really congested and couldn't breathe very well. And then yeah, just like that sort of shivery, achy sort of thing. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I haven't been really gone anywhere other than the fact, like last week, like I said, I wanted to get a video done and everything, and then didn't after that stream because by Wednesday I was already feeling rough. And then, like, yeah, it just got worse Thursday, Friday, and it's been getting better the last few days. Depends how ill you are, Tom, because you'd still have to do them. Even if you were really ill, they just make you do them after you've recovered. And you wouldn't want to get really ill, believe me, with some of the shit, like you can catch. Because, yeah, it's really cold here. There was a bit of snow earlier, Alex saying. I don't know if it's still snowing, but, it was that kind of snow where you struggle to see it out a window kind of thing. It's there, but it's not going to settle sort of thing. Yeah, so this week, that's one of the days. Again, I don't know which day yet because I have got stuff on, but I'm going to make time to do the video. It just depends when things land on which day, I'm going to get the video done on that Italian gas mask I've not done yet. I'll just do it as a short for now, and then I can do a longer video on it later if enough people are interested. So that's that. Like I've shown it kind of in a video where I showed it in like the haul of gas masks I got, but I've not done a video on it yet, like a proper video. And the X-ray sensor I've ordered should be coming in about 2 weeks. If you mean barracks, there aren't publicly like barracks you can go into. Like there's old vintage ones at the museums, and they'd have a display maybe of a gas mask in, but that'd be it. But yeah, you're not going to be allowed to just go into a barracks and film randomly as a civilian. It doesn't work like that. And again, we don't actually have things like fallout shelters over here that are open to the public. They're either all privately owned or museums or whatever. I've got it, but never played it, Tom. It's one of those games I keep meaning to play and some of my friends play because it, it's one of those games like, that I've heard is very good. And it kind of looks a bit like Red Dead 2 as more of a horror game, with the extraction shooter sort of mechanics on it. So yeah, I need to get around to playing it because again, it's one of those games that I kept looking at it and being interested. Then at one point it was on a Steam sale, so I grabbed it. It took ages to install, and by the time it had finished installing, I was back to playing other games again. But yeah, so I'm planning on doing the video this week at some time on that Italian gas mask I've not reviewed yet. Then there's a couple of things I've got on a list to do of videos, but again, some of that will be weather dependent when I get time to do it. And like I said, when the X-ray sensor comes, I can use that for loads of videos. I can even do X-rays gas masks if people want me to. I suppose rather than sensor, X-ray digital imager is probably the better word for it. Never heard of it. What is it? Let me have a look. Steam. So is it a mod or what? Because everything comes up as like different things for it. Oh, uploaded to itchy.io, which is a site I've never heard of, for $1.USD. So what's that? So it's pretty cheap. So let me see. So is it a VR game or what? I don't really get how that would play. I'll have to watch a video of it first and see if I get like what it's actually about. But yeah, so like I said, I should hopefully anyway this week get some time to do streams other than the video I'm planning on filming. And yeah, there's a couple of things like again I've got in like my notes of backlogs of videos I need to get round of, but it's just one of those things where like I said, a lot of it sadly is time dependent. And what was annoying was that I was meant to have a load of holiday to use up from work, but they're gonna have to compensate me for it rather than let me book it off because we're still too short staffed. So that's the other problem, was I'm not going to get as much free time as I was hoping soon. But that's typical. But yeah, I think at the latest it will be Thursday. I filmed the short video this week because I know I've definitely got some time Thursday where I just can do a video without anyone interrupting me for jobs. All right, Davey. But yeah, like I said, at least now I'm actually feeling up to doing stuff again. Because like I said, the back half of last week, I could barely get out of bed on the Friday. I was just, shivery and, fatigued. And like I said, it was that annoying thing as well where I don't know if you haven't had flu, you probably don't know this. But the problem is when you get something like flu is you feel really tired, but you can't sleep properly because, you're like feverish and everything. So you keep like falling asleep for like maybe 10 minutes, waking up. Takes you a while to get back to sleep, so you're just completely exhausted. But I'm hoping now I've had flu, like you're saying, that I won't catch it again for a while, because I did have a flu jab last year, and I think I must have got some sort of flu at the time, not from the jab, but like where it was going around, because I know at that point, although I felt crap, I was a lot less ill than some of the people I knew that caught it. But that's the thing. Although I like winter in terms of you can wear warm clothes if it's cold and everything and you don't get too hot, I do hate how easy it is to catch infections in the winter. All right, hype. Yeah, exactly, Alex saying. Like, that was the problem I had, was temperature regulation, where you could never figure out if you wanted like more blankets on or less, where yeah, you're like shivery but sweaty, you feel cold and then you feel like horribly warm. I mean, and it's been a bit bad recently because it's been so cold outside. I've had the problem that, like you go outside, it's really cold, so you wrap up warm, but as soon as you walk into a building, they've got the heating on full blast, and then you feel like massively overheating anyway. But yeah, thanks again, Hype, for that stuff you're sending me. That should be really good for videos. Like I said, I was just telling people about the X-ray sensor and everything, and like there is a gas mask short I at least want to film this week. But yeah, I'm saying if people want to just bring up topics for the stream, just bring it up because like I said, the back end of last week was horrible. So I was sort of there Monday, Tuesday, and that, and then after that, All right, Benny. Yeah, like I said, I've still got a bit of a sore throat, Hype, but not too bad. I took some cough medicine before the stream because I had a bit of a coughing fit just now, but I think that was more like some dust or something got down me. And I still feel more tired than I normally would. refound where my bottle of multivitamins is, so I can remember to take one of those each day, because I haven't taken multivitamins in a while, which probably hasn't helped at all. Yeah, exactly. It's that sort of thing where, but yeah, my appetite's at least come back, Benny, because that took till like Sunday for my appetite to come back fully, you know, where I could eat multiple meals per day and, you know, like feel like they wouldn't come back up or whatever. I'm having a think, but not really, because the problem was over Christmas. I was mostly just spending my money getting other people Christmas gifts, and then obviously I was just saving my money to get that X-ray sensor. So as far as I can think, no, not really. Like the last sort of interesting thing I got was that like Eco automatic blank firer. But yeah, like for all the people saying, like a lot of people I work with have been off sick with stuff, you know, or whatever, or recovering from stuff. Some people have had COVID, others have had like flu type stuff. But chicken soup's pretty good. I like carrot and coriander, but yeah, when I had mumps, like soup was essential because you couldn't actually like chew anything. You know, you could only open your mouth like that. It was like really painful, so you kind of had to have something that you could just kind of almost like suck on, you know, like or like, you know, so any like liquids are all right because you could just about get like a bottle top into your mouth, but that was it. What's that, Max? To Australian dollars CDR? What's that? Yeah, the cool thing with that is the sharpness of it, isn't it, as well? That like it doesn't look blurry. Is it autofocus or is it still manual focus with like the top ring on it? Because I know obviously it's got a similar sort of setup to standard NVGs, but I don't know if any of that. Oh, cool. So you won an auction on $2 for a civil duty respirator. That's very good. Yeah, sorry, when you used the acronym, I didn't know if it was just referring to some sort of other thing. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad Christmas is over because as much as I like Christmas for what it is, it's one of those things where if you're in certain types of work, you end up really, really busy with work. Um, Even when you don't feel like it, you're meant to be socializing. And I don't mean like, oh, humbug, you know, I have to socialize on Christmas Day. I don't mind that at all. But, you know, like there's all like work parties and stuff like that, isn't there? And then, yeah, it's just a sort of fact that, you know, it's not very like mainstream sort of. Okay, so yeah, it's just the fact it's a digital sort of, yeah, sensor in it and everything rather than like the CRT kind of style. Well, I'm glad now it's out because, like I said, I'm sure it wasn't very fun having it removed. But yeah, mine at least haven't moved in a while. I mean, touch wood, because that will be the next thing again. Because I remember there was a bit earlier in the year where I like had a bad cold. As soon as that was going, my wisdom teeth started moving again. Then as soon as like, you know, the wisdom tooth started again, I got another infection. So it was like ages of just feeling shit. Yeah, Tom, that's the problem. Because what I mean is, if you work anything kind of related to retail at all, it's been really busy. Although the problem is for a lot of retail places is you've got the fact that you're really busy with customers, but people aren't actually buying as much. So, you know, you still need the staff in and that for customer service type things, but people aren't actually really spending money as much. But yeah, that's the problem. It depends what sort of job you're doing self-employed. But like I said, like the problem is with YouTube is during COVID, my like views on YouTube are really, really good because YouTube is actually promoting stuff to do a gas mask. So now like that's not the trending thing for YouTube at all. So it's kind of that problem I have with YouTube where sometimes I have periods where my videos aren't sent out to people and whatever else. And like I've said, there's stuff on YouTube that I know gets views, but then you can't monetize. And, you know, it's like vice versa with some stuff. There's like clickbait content I'm not going to make because I don't want to do that sort of thing, but I know it will get views. Um, I mean, a GP5M isn't a rarity at all. But the C3's harder to get now, but it's still in theory one of those masks that exist in big numbers. It's just, I think, a lot of the time they get scalped on the surplus market. Yeah, Alexei, it was literally like I could do a stream like this one and get well over 100 people on. Um, But again, it's just one of those things, because I had gas mask videos up for ages, and then something happened that related to respirators or whatever. YouTube was like, oh, that's a winning thing for us to promote. Oh yeah, if you mean in Turkey, yeah, rarity. I meant like, yeah, just in general, it's not a rare mask. That's the thing you have to be careful of with some of the masks, is that, you know, you're not getting screwed over on price if you're buying it from a country, you know, where it's harder to get them. Because I've spoken to people in like various countries where there's that problem, that there's something that should be dirt cheap, but all the sellers willing to ship to a certain country then want to charge you like 3 times the price. I don't know if they ever did like green lenses, because I always like green lenses on gas masks. Like, out of the ones I've got, I like the red ones, but like the sunglass mirror kind of looking outsets on any mask always looks cool, like the anti-flash style ones, whatever they are. But yeah, for actual coolness, I'd say either green or red. Isn't the official spelling of it like the first one you said, steel batoid? Because everything I have that says made in Turkey is spelt like that. Yeah, the only problem with like the black tinted lenses, if they're not like the sunglass style one, is it's sometimes too dark when you're actually wearing the mask. Like, I know they're designed as anti-flash kind of ones, and like from like a sci-fi kind of apocalypse thing, having like tinted like black lenses makes like the person wearing the gas mask look creepier or whatever. It's actually impractical if you're wearing it, because there's just even less light coming into the mask. Yeah, that's how it's spout on all my eco guns and that. Yeah, again, like I can understand sometimes when it's somewhere like Russia where there's like lots of countries you can't, you know, ship to now and all that. But yeah, there's I've noticed that before. You know, like before I was as good at buying surplus stuff, you know, using eBay and being like careful, you know, for listings, because you'd often get that where you'd get like a surplus store, for example, get stuff in where they'd obviously just found a really cheap bulk listing for something, and then, you know, put the price up massively. I know that's how they make a profit, but you know, some of those were insane, the amount of difference they charge. I've got an S6 that's not in brilliant condition anymore because it started getting some dry rot around the like glued on bit, so I had to take that off, and I've never like you know, tried to fix it on properly because I don't have the same type of adhesives they've used. So I've just kept the parts, you know, separate after I cleaned it. S6 you can just get on eBay if you find one, but again, the S10 design is a lot better, and I'm not just on about like the straps and the eyepieces, but yeah, mainly like where the exhale valve bit is, you know, with the voice diaphragm. How the S10 does it with just a plastic cover that snaps on and off is so much better for like cleaning the mask and everything like that. Because yeah, the S6's problem is over time it seems to get like moisture or whatever between the sort of bits of the mask, which obviously starts causing like mold and rot over time. But yeah, I think that's again something you notice with more modern masks compared to older ones. Is a lot of modern masks are designed to like come apart more easily for cleaning the essential bits, where a lot of older masks, like I think they thought, oh, you know, this is going to be only used in service for a year or so, and hopefully you never need it. Um, I've never called it that, but let's have a look. Is that an S10 variant, or like a copy of the S10, or an unlicensed copy? Oh, so it's a Turkish one. Is it a licensed one? Oh, so no, that is it's the weird S6 thing, isn't it? Um, it'd be cool to get one. I've seen the grey versions. Rather than that, yeah. So the SR6M is the one I'm familiar with, which is the weird grey one. Um, but yeah, I've never seen those for sale over here. And then yeah, so they called the follow-up one the S10 essentially, even though it's not an S10. That the one that looks most interesting is one I've just found called the SR10 Panoramic or whatever it is, because it's literally an S6 with a panoramic lens. That's really weird and kind of interesting. Yeah, it says that on the gas mask wiki that that's apparently so rare that, you know, it's like there's just a few photos of it online. But yeah, I always find it weird when you get like an old mask like that and somebody's like, hey, what if we did a panoramic version of it for whatever reason rather than just getting a new mask? Yeah, the best Gore-Tex clothing I've had, Alex, saying that wasn't like, new expensive stuff, was just good condition, surplus, Bundeswehr, like West German or modern German, like, the Flecktarn Gore-Tex stuff. In terms of like had, as well as like the good Gore-Tex material, it was in a nice camo and it had like good pocket layouts. Because the problem I found with like the British Army Gore-Tex coats is, although they're pretty much the same breathability and everything and the same waterproof levels, they didn't have as many pockets on them, or as like good like hood fasteners and stuff. So you can't actually wear it and then put, like keys in the pockets or whatever. If you had that on top or a mobile phone, you pretty much have just got a raincoat on. In terms of looks, I prefer two lenses. If I was ever wearing something, panoramic lens, just because the vision is so much better. Although, again, with a panoramic lens, I don't know if there's many that have come out where they're actually a good panoramic lens for night vision. Like if you've got night vision on the helmet and you flick down like the NVG or the nod, it actually makes a good kind of seal. Because obviously with the flat eyepiece masks, you can have it pretty much dead in line with the eye. Where no, an OM90 is not worth it for $130. They're like, I'd say $30 or so. Like, I know you're not going to get them for that price, but I'm saying that like it's an S10 copy that's not as good as an S10. So, M15 is definitely better. Because yeah, the OM90 is literally a lower quality S10 clone that then like Maya have price inflated. Yeah, like I said, as long as it's Gore-Tex, like from a decent year of production, and in good condition, there shouldn't be too much problem like with the materials themselves. I'd say just look at how they zip up and like buttons and that, because also like another thing you want to be careful of is that you get a coat or whatever that has good quality zips, if they fasten the zip, because the amount of like jackets and that I've got where the zips just break after not very long use because they're just low quality zips is kind of amazing. Where they've just got like the really tiny teeth and the really flimsy little zip on them. So as soon as you get, any pulling on the sort of coat or whatever, when you've got it zipped up, the zip just breaks, or whatever, all the teeth come out. I know it's quite high, but that it was being annoying earlier where I couldn't really get it. I mean, that's fine. You don't really need to see anything lower down anyway. I'm wearing trousers, but but that's all right. Yeah, like I said, an FM12, if you were looking at like the S10 or like the OM90 or whatever, the FM12 is going to be the best one out of those. The Chinese copy of the S10, whatever it's called, the is it the FMJ08? That's pretty good as well. Fiver for a woodland smock isn't bad though, is it? Again, it's like, I know you can repair zips, but again, that's like one of the things I've noticed of like, especially lower quality waterproof trousers that are meant to have zip up pockets, is like they literally don't last sometimes like one or two goes in the washing machine, even though they say they're washing machine safe. After like putting them through the washing machine a couple of times, like the zips just break off. And the problem is with some of those is that sometimes means then that it's not fully waterproof, because some of them are designed that you have to have the pocket zipped up to stop water getting through them. And sometimes it's also the thing of like, you don't want to put anything valuable in the pockets because, one little jolt and your phone or whatever is going to go flying out the pocket. Yeah, like I said, the Christmas stuff's gone off of him now. Just because of the fact that apparently it's bad luck to have Christmas decorations up, past whatever day it is in January, so they've gone off of him. I might see if when there's other stuff coming up, he can just be dressed in other stuff to reflect what's going on. Yeah, and I think there's even heavier ones than those. Like, I don't mean in the British Army, but I've got some of like the older Eastern European, like ones that are meant to be a bit like those sort of jackets, but with more padding for like the cold weather. So imagine your like DPM sort of smock thing, but then add more, like wool kind of filler or whatever, plus maybe like a thin windbreaker type material on the inside. Like they're absolutely fine to wear on its own, but yeah, you wouldn't want to be in full gear with those, plus a rucksack, plus whatever. Is there any reason for that, or just because? Because that does seem very strange that like we're going to keep Ghost, we're just going to modify Ghost to be, like an even more obscure kind of Ghost. Because I know Ghost is just like their kind of universal standard. But again, it kind of doesn't even make sense to call it Ghost anymore if you don't even have like the Warsaw Pact sharing the stuff with you, you know, or like China or whatever, because it kind of made sense when it was like communist world had that as their standard kind of measurement for everything, or standard, whatever you want to call it, like made to these specifications. But yeah, it seems kind of weird if it is still Ghost, comrade, it is just new Ghost. Yeah, that is, but because it's a stream I can't pick it up. The AT4 is like the only thing I can have in the background like that doesn't freak out YouTube, because apparently big rocket launches aren't the thing YouTube like censors yet in the background. Because even like now you can get your stream taken down if I had like a gun hanging on the wall or whatever. But yeah, the AT4, maybe because they don't think you're going to do a live stream mass shooting or suicide with a launcher. Words I shouldn't have said on stream because that can get me in trouble. But yeah, they don't think you're going to do a live stream funny thing using one of those. They haven't sort of censored them in the background yet. No, the M4A isn't as good as the M15. It's still fine for what it is. Like for a civilian mask, it's good. The straps are all right. You get good vision. It's got a drinking system. But the M15 has a voice diaphragm on it. The better thing of the M15 as well is you've got the much stronger kind of triangular lenses. The 4A1 does have quite brittle lenses. Like they're not really fragile, but they're the sort of one that one airsoft BB hitting it could break it kind of thing. Where at least with a lot of the other military masks, they're not designed for airsoft, but they would crack but not break instantly. If they were hit by quite high velocity BBs. Where the civilian like 4A1s have been one of those ones I've seen in the video where a single airsoft thing just rips through it. I think the older ones didn't, Clint. I think it was when they directly copied under license or not under license a mask called the Draeger Simplex, which the 4A1 came from. When they did that, they didn't have a drinking tube. I think it was just over time they added the drinking tube as they kind of just made them more of their own mask. Yeah, like you could capture filters. Yeah, but that's one of the things like most armies don't like, isn't it? Like we all need to have different calibers from our enemies because we don't want them to be able to capture our ammo, even if it means we could capture their ammo. So yeah, again, it's going to cause even more logistics problems for Russia. Because if we haven't learned already that Russia has lots of logistics problems, all they need to do now is just complicate it more. Probably around 100. But bear in mind, like there's been some I've sold and traded over the years because at one point I probably had like 130. And at one point before, like I lost a load of stuff to like a data failure or whatever, I did have a spreadsheet with every single one of my gas masks on it, like by country, and all that, which is why I know I came close to 130 at one point. But then, annoyingly, I lost that in a drive failure, and I never bothered doing that list again because I thought, because it's also sometimes a nice surprise where I'm like clearing stuff out of a storage box and I get a gas mask I couldn't even remember I had before. But yeah, the problem is when you get that many masks is sometimes when people start mentioning masks to you, I have to actually try and remember what it is, where your memory starts going of what the masks actually are. But yeah, but if you've got 4 masks, Toast and Jam, you can actually probably tell yourself a lot about each mask. Like, I've got a GP5 and I've got a C3 and I've got an S10. Whereas if you ask me to start prattling off the name of my masks, yeah, good luck with that. Right, Clint, in all honesty, if you're like in a family or whatever, you just really want one good mask for each person plus a few filters. Like obviously it doesn't hurt to have a couple of masks, so you've got backup ones or you can keep say a mask in your car, like, glove box or whatever, plus one in your house, like stuff like that makes sense. Like, you certainly don't want to be like me, where I'm just getting them all because I like doing videos on them. But yeah, for practical reasons, you just want a couple of really good masks plus a load of filters, not loads and loads of like weird surplus ones or whatever. Yeah, exactly, litter picker. Because again, it's a bit like, I suppose, if you're American, like I can understand like the appeal, because I'd like to do it, of owning lots of different guns in lots of different calibers. But if you were just like wanting something for home defense, or carrying on you, you're probably literally in all reality going to just have an AR and like a good pistol, aren't you? It's like that sort of thing, that there's kind of a difference between practicality, if I can say the word right, and like just having stuff for the sake of having it. Well, in some ways that, because it's right there, but again, I've got like FM12s and that with like the filters in the bag and all that. So I've got an FM12 set up with the bag, and the CT12 should still be set up with it in the bag. But yeah, in all honesty, if I need a mask in emergency, I just grab the most modern mask that's near me with a filter on it. Yeah, the problem is, Clint, like I said, is Myra did a very good job advertising, because what Myra did was they basically found a load of mostly gun tubers and like prepper type channels, gave them masks for free and told them, like to, hey, recommend our masks. And if you don't know much about gas masks and you get a Myra mask for free, or like, a check mask that Myra have put their brand name on, you're probably going to be like, oh, wow, this is, like really good. And it's also, Myra had quite a lot of flashy advertising that, if and it's also because they sell to civilians, whereas, like I said, a lot of actual proper respirator companies don't sell to civilians or have civilian models that, aren't like the full milsurp kind of ones. But yeah, when I used to have my car, I used to have one of my masks. I think that was where I bought a couple of FM12s, with the kits and the filters, to have them as actually emergency masks. And I had one, I think it was under the passenger seat. It was designed so, it was in one of those spaces in the car where it's never going to get in the way, like get into your pedal space or whatever way you're driving, and it wouldn't fit in the glove box. But it was designed, so if there ever was a proper emergency and I had to stop the car and, like reach for a mask, I'd have one. If there was like a chemical spill on the road or something. Yeah. No, Avon still make masks. There was a mask I saw they do recently, which is actually sold to civilians, which is cool, but it's really expensive, and it's kind of like one of those ones that you could just get the milsurp version cheaper anyway. But no, Avon still make masks. They still, again, the thing is with a lot of companies like Avon and that, and 3M and all those kind of companies, is when they have a mask that sells really well that people still want to buy, they're not really going to keep making new masks for a while. You want to keep making as many of a really good mask to sell to like as many customers as possible, rather than keep inventing new masks, because then some of your older masks are going to like dry up and sale. See you later, Alex. So yeah, they do the C50 and the M50. I think they still even do the FM12, because so many, like, because the FM12 was designed as their kind of like thing of like nations that don't want to spend as much, and they wanted to still have a market for that. And I know the UK police still use FM12, so I assume they're not using really old ones. I assume they still have some sort of contract to get them. So I'd assume like their oldest mask they still do is like the FM12 CT12 style mask, then the M50 and C50, because M50, if I remember right, is still the US military mask. C50 is just kind of like, we've got the M50 but in conventional 40mm, which is again how I prefer it, just because the filters are easier to come by. And you're not like stuck to a specific brand of filter or whatever that has to have a specific connector. And then yeah, you've got stuff like what is it? Yeah, like the FM53 and the FM54. Not really anything, Toast. Again, what happened with that is the army or whatever did a trial, and the M50 did better than the GSR. The problem was that the when they then looked at the budget, like if you know much about the British military, is like the other day, it's like they got rid of 2 warships or whatever it was because of the fact that they didn't have enough crews for them. So they spent loads of money recently refurbishing them and then decided to sell them or scrap them or whatever. They literally did the cheapskate thing like lots of armies do of, well, we did a trial, this was the best thing, but we're still not going to pick it. I'll have to look up who that is in a minute. I'll probably know exactly who it is as soon as I look it up. Yeah, like I said, like everything I've had by Avon, like past the Cold War. Oh, I mean like S10s forwards, because again, the S6 I had wasn't an Avon one, but again, that wasn't actually an Avon design mask. Because if you the older masks Avon made, I don't think were Avon designs, or not exclusively Avon designs. Ones where they were just commissioned to make the masks along with other companies. Because like all of the British World War II masks were made by loads of different companies because it was the government just trying to get as many as possible. Just like now, like guns are made by loads of different companies and everything. They were just given the part, like the tool machining to make them and a license and told to make as many as possible for, the government. But yeah, once you go to like S10 forward, the Avon masks are just like really good, high quality. You can nitpick at little bits on them. And again, I know people say I'm an Avon fanboy, but I'm just saying that's just the reality of it. I past the S10, I've not had an Avon mask where I thought, wow, this is a really bad design choice. And again, with the M50, as much as I think the C50 is a better mask, the M50's face piece and everything is very good, and the straps. It's just the contract thing the US Army wanted for them, or whatever, was that specific filter. And Avon wasn't going to say, "Oh, let's turn down a deal from the US, military for, however many billions of dollars they're going to get for it because we don't want to make a specific filter that they've asked for." The filter's not going to be dangerous, Toast and Jam, but I don't know if it's going to protect you from much. But again, the good thing is if you have an S10, it's standard 40mm NATO, so you can put any sort of modern filter on you want. Because again, that's the main thing I like about, like I said, about 40mm NATO, is it's just the fact, like, or Stanag, whatever you want to call it, is it's just because it's been the standard for so long with armies and like industrial masks. You have no problem pretty much anywhere in the world finding, NATO filters. Because like I've said, the funny thing is, even some DIY shops sell brand new what would be a NATO filter, because they're 40mm Stanag, DIN, or whatever you want to call them, industrial gas filters in different classifications. But they'll fit on your S10 fine or whatever. I'll just Google who it is then. But laughing. Oh, so it's a luxury brand, is it? All right. So it's like what, a Hugo Boss or whatever, one of those sort of similar ones. Oh, I recognise those gaudy looking horrible bags. I've seen those before. But yeah, it's because again, it's like one of the things with like saying like the LARP stuff I've seen is like I know like a load of Americans complain about this more, but it's how so many people have those really really expensive AR-15s with like loads of attachments all over them, like the tactical sort of thing, and it's like when you hear people say, why not just spend, if you're going to spend that much money, why not buy any decently priced good rifle that has good ammo availability and then practice with it using that money for ammo, and stuff like that. Whereas unless you're really really rich, if you're spending so much on attachments that you're not buying ammo, you're not actually getting training with a rifle. And again, I don't mean like, I'm not saying the AR-15 isn't a good platform. It is. I'm just sort of saying that it's, you could get a very basic AR-15 with a good optic on it, or you could get the ones with all the lasers and all the flashlights and whatever else, and plus all the weird grips and everything. And again, it is kind of boring that when like you're looking in a thread on guns, and there's all the really weird, interesting, unique guns and all that, and then it's like, oh, it's now there's hundreds of posts of people like trying to boast about how much they've spent on their AR-15. Like, again, I could not imagine spending more on rifle accessories than like a gaming PC, because it even if I was in somewhere like America, what would I rather, like, when I bought my 3090, it's like, would I rather get a 3090 or would I rather, like, get another gun? Because again, like, I know, like, the funny thing, I've said this loads of times, but it's like the Ruger 1022 is kind of like one of those rifles. The reason it's so popular everywhere in the world is that, as a civilian, it's normally not very restricted in most countries. Like, you can even have Ruger 1022s here in semi-auto. I know you need the licenses, but good luck getting much else in semi-auto in the UK. And then it's 1022, like 22 long rifle is such a cheap ammo. Even in America, it's like one of those ones that you can buy by literally the bucket load. Like, there are companies that in America sell, like, how you get the big buckets of Mayo or like industrial sources and that, like the big like 5 liter buckets or whatever, where it's literally a bucket of bullets. Yeah, exactly. Oh, the other thing with gear I find funny as well is all the people that spend loads and loads and loads of money on the rigs, but then probably never exercise in the rig, getting used to the weight of it, and like weight distribution and all that, because of the fact that, like, yeah, that rig might look cool with you wearing it at the range, but have you ever tried running around in it and doing stuff? Because again, you're going to need energy to do that. And yeah, I mean, I know it depends what it is, but yeah, I think with, like, like saying what the gun stuff is, I think there is a degree of it of like show offness with some people. That again, like, yeah, it's like, there isn't really on something I want to go into on a tangent about, but like, again, like with gun tubers and that, there's a reason, like, obviously, rest in peace. I don't know if he's died yet, but I know he's dying. Like, Paul Harrell is like one of the best ones, just because he's like, an unassuming looking bloke that's then just shooting really tight groups with guns while, like, doing all the tests where he's just giving the readouts on like the performance of the cartridges and everything. And there's like, what's it, like, 9-hole review, whatever it's called, that's another really good gun tuber, just because it's like a guy who's really, really good at shooting. So he's like actually quite good if you just want to see how accurately somebody can shoot with the gun, when it's down to, like, where you've got a really good marksman. So it's down to like the quality of the gun and the sights and everything, rather than like people online bitching about how accurate their guns are. Um, but yeah, I don't know what you want to call them. Like, the gun tubers I like are the ones on more almost for me like comfy videos, where it's just somebody explaining in lots of detail about how something works, without doing anything pretentious. Favorite looking camo pattern? I still really like SS Lito, like the Russian or Soviet version of one of the World War II German ones. I think that's the one that's also called Fracture Camo, where it's like they just took a German camo and basically recolored it to make it a bit more higher contrast. Swiss Alpenflage. Like, for practicality, stuff like MTP and like multicam are actually really good, just because they work in so many places. Yeah, but I suppose at least in modern armies, you at least know that although you're doing that in training, hopefully a lot of the time in reality, you're probably going to be motorized or mechanized. Because that, from what I understand, that, like, like people from my granddad's age said about World War II, was all the stuff like, oh no, you are marching everywhere. Good luck if you're given transport a lot of the time. A lot of the time, it is just going to be, you're going to be dropped off somewhere, and all the soldiers are expected to march to destination, then like dig, foxholes and everything. Again, there's loads of camos I like. But again, again with the camo, it's kind of like there's ones I really like just because I like the patterns, and then there's camos I like because of practicality. Yeah, I like all the DPMs. Like Desert DPM is the really interesting one. That Desert DPM is really popular in some places because it's cheap. To actually just be dyed different colors, because Desert DPM is only 2 color, isn't it? Unlike Woodland DPM, which I think is either 3 or 4 color. because it's just literally like a yellow and brown kind of shade in it with the bigger splotches. So Desert DPM, or does it actually have white in it as well? Desert DPM, it might be free color, some white in it as well. I can't remember now without looking at it. But again, Desert DPM is apparently really popular because you can buy pretty much any color dye you want and then get, like another 2-tone or 3-tone camo it is and whatever that color of the dye is. So you can make it woodland, by dyeing it green. You could dye it funny colors if you wanted. UCP is actually another one that it works really well if it's dyed. Like, I get that it would actually work if you're in places with lots of grey, like maybe an urban scenario or like a very rocky sort of scenario. And it was one of those camos that seemed to actually look better when it got a bit dirty, so it actually had proper colours on it. But again, UCP is one of those ones that when you see some people who have dyed it like, shades of green or shades of brown, it suddenly just looks so much better because it's actually more of a contrasting camo. But yeah, like you're saying, like get equipment evacuate, like because it's like when people say to me like, "Oh, how many filters do I need to like sit in my house if there's like a gas leak?" It's like I think the idea is if there's a horrible gas leak, or a Chernobyl type scenario, is you're putting your mask on and you're evacuating or whatever. You're not just going to sit there and like say, "Oh, twiddle my thumbs until everything is fixed for me." Oh yeah, I was hearing about that because it's much harder to spot like infantry, isn't it? Like marching single file or slightly spread out, through tree lines and vehicles driving to the front. Again, I think modern warfare is going to just get more and more horrifying with just literally a drone to murder every soldier kind of thing. Because it's like we've gone from the grenade drop drones to like the first person, like racer drones with an RPG warhead on. And now I've seen videos of them like Stuka diving with drones, where they have an impact bomb. The drone does that, pulls up, and then, they can recycle the drone and keep reloading it. But again, it's like a bomb that's going to follow the trajectory of what the drone was doing and be much harder to, avoid the bomb. And this is just like the hobby drones that have been converted. It's like, imagine if a full-scale military said, yeah, let's start mass producing very cheap, efficient, drones. And I know people keep going, oh, but there'll be electronic warfare, but I think that will take a while to catch up to the extent that, But yeah, modern war looks really horrifying in the sense of like, everywhere you could just have a grenade dropped on you, sort of thing. And, be spotted for artillery by a drone pretty much anywhere. It's not just somebody with binoculars trying to like pinpoint a position now with a radio or whatever, or like a little recce vehicle or like an aircraft at a distance with optics. It's, like a helicopter hovering over a tree line. It's, you could literally have drones everywhere giving coordinates to artillery. But yeah, anyway, I'll go off now. I didn't think I'd last 48 minutes on this stream because, like I said, my throat's getting a bit sore again now. But yeah, I'm definitely doing a video this week. But again, I don't know at the moment. It will be done by Thursday evening at the latest. It's just that, with the next couple of days, I've got various bits on. So it depends. If loads of stuff falls on tomorrow and then not on Wednesday, I'll do it Wednesday kind of thing. But, if like tomorrow, one of the things I was going to do gets pushed to Wednesday, not tomorrow, then I might do it tomorrow. Yeah, I get what you mean there, because Ukraine's very flat, isn't it? So it's lots of fields that are flat, which means like it's, like the type of scenario ideal for artillery and like ATGMs and stuff like that. And also it's a war where like neither side really has air superiority. And again, that makes a massive difference because if you have a situation in a war where obviously one side's air force gets knocked out really quickly and then, like anti-air stuff will get ceded, it's going to make a massive difference if there's constant like plane and helicopter, sorties happening. But anyway, thanks everybody. Like I said, I'm getting over the flu now, so expect more content, coming soon. And thanks for being patient, everybody. That's because I do get a lot of people that again they're probably the people that haven't been subscribed for that long that are saying, why aren't you just churning out like a video every day? And it's like, well, unfortunately now I have to work a lot of days per week, and I've got other responsibilities and I often get ill, so Have a good day, everybody. It's been a good chat today. I've enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm hoping to do some more streams this week. But like I said, the main video I want to film, it's just going to be a case of which day I get the most free time on, to, the most convenient day to do a video. Right, see you, everybody.